Hi everyone. It's great to have a good turnout today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your calendar to see what the NetSuite Advanced Manufacturing Solution has in store from both a functionality standpoint and usability standpoint. So today it's going to be a very high level quick session broken up into two parts. First part is a presentation element, which will just go through some of the functions of the NetSuite Advanced Manufacturing Solution. And then the second part is I'll take you through the actual solution itself in NetSuite, take you through what a work order looks like, how the processing of that work order goes through each and every one of those operations as an example, and how the results are recorded on a tablet, and effectively how the reporting side of things works as well. So this is an extension to the NetSuite solution. It's built in the solution, it's all part of the product. And it utilizes the existing work orders and assemblies and whip and routing solution in NetSuite to extend on that functionality. So if I share my screen, we'll start off with the presentation element like we discussed, and then we'll move into the demo. So who am I? I'm Rob Jurcek. I'm the CEO of OneCloudX. We're a NetSuite, Oracle NetSuite solution provider in Australia. We service the whole country. We've done a total of 100 plus implementations across the distribution, manufacturing, non-for-profit, financial service, professional service and software sector space. And we have a number of clients that are also utilizing the advanced manufacturing solution today as well. So from a NetSuite solution standpoint, I'm going to be utilizing the NetSuite Suite Success Manufacturing Premium solution. So NetSuite Suite Success is a templated solution that they've pre-configured across thousands of implementations that they've delivered around the world, and use those best practices for each and every one of those processes, whether they're record to report, being financials, whether they're asset management, whether it's manufacturing, production management, that whole landscape, end-to-end processing for the total solution is pre-templated. So then it's not really a ground-up implementation from scratch. We use the best practices for every individual pre-configured role, which in this example, you get 13 dedicated roles for the Manufacturing Premium Edition. And it's designed and set up specifically for the manufacturing sector. Hence why you've got a supply chain manager role, you've got a production manager role, you've got a quality manager role, and other roles that are pertaining to the manufacturing space. And that's what I'll utilize today to demonstrate the advanced manufacturing solution. So from an advanced manufacturing standpoint, which is an extension to the premium manufacturing solution, in this example that I'll show you today, the setup of the solution is predicated around the people side of it, how you set up your machines, you set up your work centers, the capability side of things of how you want the advanced manufacturing solution to operate in your business. And then from that, once you've set up the actual locations and the workbench, which pertains to the product data management side of things, that's where the actual intelligence of the solution through to know when a work order is assigned to that route and assigned to that sequence of events that needs to take place in the manufacturing journey. What happens is then you're basically executing each and every one of those processes. So once you've got a work order that's been created and is utilizing that advanced manufacturing routing, what happens is you therefore go through and you start planning. You plan your rough cut capacity plan to therefore see what the capacity looks like from a total work order standpoint. What resources are you going to need? What assets are you going to need throughout each and every one of those work orders across every individual week? And then from that, once you've locked in that capacity plan, you therefore go through and you execute the finite process of seeing how each and every one of those work orders that are connected through what you're planning and the sequencing of those to make sure that when you're scheduling each and every one of those operations for each and every work order, that it takes all that into account as part of your schedule for a particular time frame. And I'll show you some of that and the visibility of that around some of the planning boards that are in this solution, as well as some of the Gantt charts. And then once you've actually released those orders from the scheduling and you've sent it through to the shop floor, then how do you print the travelers out? How do you utilize the barcoding side of things of the solution with the touch screens from a tablet device that you can therefore issue your materials in the event there is no backflush? How do you execute downtime on when a work order is having issues with the actual asset or the machine that you're using to execute that function or that operation in that work center? And then how do you therefore process any other bits of losses or quality checks and other components that you need to do as part of the manufacturing process? And then from a production control standpoint, how are you managing each and every element of that? How are you reporting on that? How are you confirming that how much cost has gone into every single operation, whether it's labor cost, whether it's machine cost, whether it's setup cost, whatever those costs are, how are you managing those? And therefore, how are you incorporating any shortage tracking elements as well, coupled with any quality side of things as well? So that's the overall advanced manufacturing solution from a very verbal standpoint. So now I'll take you through the actual solution and show you how it effectively connects the whole end-to-end process within NetSuite. So I'll just jump into NetSuite. So here I am here. I've just logged in as the production manager in NetSuite. Under my actual role, these are the actual roles that are tied that come out of the box with the Manufacturing Premium Edition. So as you saw, as I discussed earlier, there are different roles for different parts of the organization, and therefore you get different bits of information. So if I'm on the production manager role, I'm going to get production information around all the reminders that are pertaining to what I need to look at as part of my daily routine. And therefore what my KPIs look at, what's the value of any work orders that I've completed, what's my inventory looking like, a list of work orders, and every one of these individual bits of information, which we call portlets, can be moved around the actual screen and can be optimized depending on the user requirements. So from an actual solution standpoint, you've got your global search up the top here, you've got your help if you need any help, and then you've got your individual drop downs here as well, right, which is pretty much the access that you've got within the NetSuite solution. Right, so since I'm logged in as the production manager, I am going to obviously care about processing work orders today and therefore show you some of the capabilities of the advanced manufacturing solution. So if I just go down to my work order portlet, I'll jump into one of the actual work orders that I've pre-set up, and you'll be able to see that this particular work order pertains to this particular finished product that we're manufacturing, which is work order 293. It's utilizing this particular routing, right? So if I just click in and show you the actual route, you'll see that all the individual elements tied to the actual route. So what each and every operation, what the cost templates are being used for each and every one of those operations, the setup and run times, and the manufacturing work centers as well, right? So this is where you define your routing for that particular finished product, when your production start and end dates are, as well as how are you actually scheduling this. So this particular work order is forward-based scheduling, so it's going to schedule forwards based on the time that you need to execute based on the operations. If I go down a little bit, I can see it relates to this particular customer, and it was created from this particular sales order. So this is an example where it's a make-to-order, where the sales order automatically creates the work order, and therefore the work order is planned and executed accordingly. So this actual work order is in a release status and is therefore utilizing these components as part of the actual manufacturing process. So these are your components or your bill of materials, and therefore what's the quantity you need, how many is being committed, how much is on the floor, and therefore where are you actually sourcing the actual bill of materials. So in this example, they're being sourced from stock. If there were other assembly items, you can actually have them as work orders instead. So you're actually producing sub-assemblies as part of your finished product. And then you've got your operations time as operations information as well. So you can see what the planned times are for each and every one of those operations, which are none of them's been started, what assets are needing to be utilized. So when the person on the shop floor is utilizing and trying to execute functions within each and every operation, this solution will tell them that they need to pick particular assets. So like in this example, a metal cutting bandsaw, or you know, a tube bender, or whatever that asset is. And then from that, you've also got the the planned times as well. In total, from a total view standpoint, you can change the views as well if you wanted to change and customize your views. Are there any inspections? What the work order analysis is, so you can see the actual planned setup times versus the actual setup time, and the planned run times versus the estimated planned run time and actual run time. So it gives you the full view of the analysis of this work order from planned to actuals. And then you got any actual build records. So when you're actually assembling each and every element across the operation, what are the individual related records that are tied to this? And if you had any outsourcing as well, if you send any components or any elements out to outsource, like I don't know, powder coating or anything of that nature, there's an outsource capability in NetSuite to generate the purchase order for that vendor that you're outsourcing to, and therefore what are the charges for that, and that incorporates it all back into the work order and the cost of that actual work order. So from a setup side, so I just want to take you through the work order to start with, so you get some visibility as to what is in the actual work order. But in terms of the setup of the advanced manufacturing solution, you will end up, once it's turned on, you'll see a sub tab that's on the NetSuite screen, and you have something called the administration setup. This is where you set up your locations. So in this case, I've set up the Brisbane location. How do you want to report your downtimes in terms of categories? What are the reasons for downtime, material losses, categories and reasons, and how you want to report on those? But the one where most of the intelligence around the advanced manufacturing solution sits is in the manufacturing workbench. So let's go into that. So when I actually go into the actual workbench, it provides a list of all the individual operations for every single assembly product. And when you actually go into it, this is where you're defining what the individual elements are for this particular product, for that particular route, for that particular actual operation that's tied to an actual work center. All right, so for this assembly product, for this operation called saw cut, the planned standard rates around run times are all incorporated in the planning section here. The actual assets that are utilized, any labor that we need as part of that's been set up. So for instance, we have in this example a metal building certificate, and therefore only individuals that have this particular certificate can execute this particular operation. And any work instructions that you've got that you may include on the traveler, which is the document that travels through the actual each and every operation through to completion, and any inspections that you've got as well. So if you want to create a individual inspection requirement, this is where you would set it up, and you define, okay, what type of inspection do you want to happen in this operation, and what are the rules associated with the actual test that you're performing as part of that inspection. So this is where you set some of that inspection up, and it could be multiple inspections, and it could be after every individual batch. It could be after every once at the end of the operation. So the rules are all built in there. And then you can also incorporate any sub-products or co-products as part of the process around the operation. So that's the intelligence around for each and every product, for every operation. This is where you kind of define the rules. And then once you've done that, you can therefore go in and start your process of defining the capacity plan, right? So if I jump into the capacity plan side of things and I choose my individual location that I'm actually going to be planning for, so in this case it's Brisbane, and I list it, I've actually created one earlier. So if I jump into and show you this capacity plan that I've generated, it's based on the actual start date or for the horizon date of the 30th of October to the 3rd. So it's pretty much for the full week, right? So it's for this particular week we're running for. And we're looking at it from a time fence of weeks. So when I actually execute this, it's going to pull across all the planned demand that we're using to drive the actual capacity plan for the required supply that we need, right? So in this case, these are the individual work orders. So if I hit the plan demand button, it will then refresh the actual demand and bring any other work orders across. So I've obviously created a few work orders today, and it's bringing all those plan demands across. So when we're actually generating the supply in terms of what resources we need, what machines we need, and the hours we need in total to manage that actual plan or the delivery of that plan demand, this is what it is, right? So if I refresh this, it's going to therefore go run in the background and pull across what the resource supply needs to be, right? So if I save this plan, so this is where I actually save it, and this is now the actual plan's being saved. So now what's happening in the background, it's actually producing my report where I can go in and view what my capacity plan looks like for the, for what we've just generated. So if we generate the actual capacity plan that we've just run, which is a demo capacity plan, we can choose from a summary report or a report by period. So let's choose it by period. Even though we ran it for a week, we can display the plan and it'll show us the actual details of the capacity plan that we can therefore print and generate the report for. So you can see from the actual report for that particular week, it's telling me all the individual units that we're planning to produce across the capacity plan, across the organisation, how many employees we need, what the available labour time is, and the labour utilisation, the planned machine hours, the available machine hours, and the rest for each and every operation that we have in the manufacturing organisation. All right, so it gives you a good view of the actual total capacity and based on all the demand, whether it's demand from work orders, whether it's demand from sales orders, whether it's demand from the demand plan that NetSuite has that you're generating your demand from, this is the actual capacity plan that comes out as a result. So if I close that and go back into the next part of it, the demo, this is where we now, from that, generate the actual release of the individual work orders. All right, so we've looked at a capacity, we've seen all the work orders that we're planning for, and now we're going to execute and release those work orders based on a sequence that we create from this particular screen. So this screen is the release orders to shop floor screen, where we're actually selecting the orders that we're releasing to the shop floor. And then once they're released, that would change the work orders from a planned status to a released status. So let's start by selecting the location, which is Brisbane. We'll choose the actual plan horizon. So we'll run it for, for a few weeks. In this case, we want to show only the planned orders that are in this horizon. And we want to sort it by one of these individual elements. So we can sort it by the planned start date of the work order. We can sort it by the quantity. We can sort it by the delivery date. So in this case, I'll sort it by the delivery date. And the scheduled start in this case is going to be today, because obviously we're planning from today using the forward schedule method. And we're not releasing any child work orders in this case. You have the facility too if you want to, but in this case, they're running child work orders. So let's just list all the individual work orders that are defined based on the filters we've selected. And you'll see here that it's brought through all these individual work orders. I think let's not display any released work orders. We just want to see work orders that are not released, that are in the red color. Right. So in this exam, in here, I can see that it relates. These are the 3 work orders. These are the quantities. These are the routes and the planned start dates and the status and the delivery date. If we had planning codes or schedule codes, we'd be able to view these as well in here and also sort based on them as well. So since we're sorting based on delivery date, hence why you see it being sorted in this particular fashion. Now we can individually go in and sequence these by putting a 1, 2, and 3, or you can just mark all and the solution will do it for you. You have to have the sequence for every single one in here selected. Otherwise, it won't schedule all the orders. So the first part, before we actually release it, we want to see and preview the actual schedule and see what it actually looks like before we send it to the shop floor, because we may want to change the sequence around for whatever reason. So if we just go and hit the preview schedule function, this is where now it's going to go in the background and try to schedule the actual work order for every one of those individual operations and try to find where it could actually schedule those in based on that sequence. Whilst that's running in the background, which it takes, I think, a minute or 2 to run, the other element that I'll show you today is around the actual work order management standpoint as well. So you can go into and view for a particular work order based on particular work centers. So if we choose the saw cut function and we want to look at for this particular week, what the work orders are looking like, it's going to bring these particular work orders up. And then I can actually select on one of these and then view the contents of it. So then once I view the contents, I can see the manufacturing operations, I can see the material requirements, I can see any other production results or losses or the rest of it that are pertaining to the actual, to that order that I've selected. So you can see that for this particular 287 order, I can see all the operations, the planned setup time, run times, and the rest and the planned quantities that we're expecting to make as part of every one of those individual operations. I can look at the material requirements as well. So all the actual items that we need to pick for each and every one of the individual operations. And any other related work orders and actual results or actual production deliverables that are completed as part of the work order. So if I go back to where we were, which was in the review production plan, if I hit the display button, it should now show me for all those 3 individual work orders that were part of the schedule, what the actual structure of the actual timelines that we need to, that the system is planning to schedule these in. So for order 288, 287, and 289, it's tried to schedule in the saw cut from 7 a.m. because that's the start time of the morning to 7:35. I can see that it's therefore gone from 7:35 to 7:50 for the next order, and then I can therefore see it's gone from 7:50 to 8:35 for the next one for that operation, right? And you see the next one is, for bending the pipe operation for each and every one. You can see it's sequenced in accordingly. And then obviously it's moved other elements to the next day because the time to finish is 3 p.m. All right, so that's why 30 is done at 3 p.m. because the shop finishes at 3 p.m. All right, so if you're happy with the actual view, you can release it. But you also have the facility to change the view as well, right? So you can also include other work orders in Horizon. So it's not selecting the work orders that we've chosen in the release area here. You can actually also include all the orders in the Horizon. So anything that we've ran for the whole week that we ran for, it's going to bring all those individual work orders across as well. So you can see the whole view as well. So you can see all the other work orders that are incorporated into it, not just those 3. And then you can also change the view as well, right? So if you want to change it, at the moment we're looking at it from a day and week standpoint, we can also change it from a week and month and refresh the screen and then look at the production plan for that horizon scale. If you want to therefore constrict the view into a more of a week and a month view. Hope that makes sense. So, yep, we have a question. Yes, so what you can do is in that example, okay, so the question was, how do we plan released orders? So at the moment we're planning planned orders. How do we plan released orders? It's very simple. We just have to incorporate the released orders into the actual released orders to the shop floor function that will then include those particular work orders in the list. So in this case, these are 3 here that are in the release status, and we can incorporate those as well into it. So yeah, we can therefore bring these 3 forward because of the actual delivery date being earlier, and then it will push those ones out, even though they're released into the future horizon based on it. And if we release the schedule and preview the schedule, it will run it and do it that way. But we just in this case going to release 1 work order. So let's just release work order 291, or even better so, let's just release 289. And in this case, once you hit it, the release work order, it's actually going to release it and send it to the shop floor. So this is where the next step in the process is to generate the actual travelers, right? Which is the actual document that will have all the barcodes on for every product that needs to be picked for every operation and utilized as part of it. So, and this is executed during this step here, where if I go to generate work order travelers, and I select the actual location, which is Brisbane, and we want to only pick up ones for this week, and we want to list those work orders. So it's going to pick up all those work orders. And then you just select the actual work order you want to release in this, and then you can hit the submit print job. And what will happen is it will run the actual job in the background, and then you will find that actual document in NetSuite filing cabinet. So if I go to the AM Travelers directory in the NetSuite filing cabinet, and I sort on the last modified date, here it is here at 2:02 AU Australia Melbourne time. You'll be able to see the actual traveller for work order 289. So you can see it relates to the actual finished product assembly, where we're making 7, and here's the description. And therefore, for each and every operation for a particular work center, what are the start and end times for it? So you both have the barcode for the work order as well as the actual operation. And therefore, the product that you're actually picking that you need to utilize as part of the operation. So in this case, we need to go pick 7 of these HDG pipes for the saw cut in order to process it. There aren't any instructions in this example, but if we go down, you can see for 20, there is actually an instruction here, and it says the requirement is to measure every single weld when we're welding. So obviously this is the bent piping element, and obviously there's some welding bits as well. And these are the 2 products as part of it, right? So all the way through, right down to the final operation, incorporates it all. So shop floor's got this now. And now what we'll do is we will actually jump into the tablet. So NetSuite is just a matter of jumping in and going in and showing to the tablet where you've got your tablet entry. And when you're actually in the tablet, you can sort and select based on your individual work center. So we're going to select the saw cut. We're going to select orders that are from a particular date, So in this case, we're going to select orders that are from today onwards, which is the 289 order that's been released. And we can also incorporate any other ones as well by changing the end date as well. All right, so this is on your tablet. You just, your finger, you click on it, and it will take you into the actual operation. And then from that, you would be able to start that operation. So it knows that it's me because I'm the one who's logged in. I can start the actual operation. So now I've actually kicked it off, and it's now saying that I've started it at 2:05 on the 31st of August. And in this case, I'm going away and doing what I need to do to cut whatever I need to cut as part of this operation. Now, if I'm needing to pick product, this is where I will issue the actual operation. So any predefined products that are as part of the operation will be chosen here. Otherwise, you can go and choose other particular products as well. You can therefore confirm any particular scrap that you've had in terms of any material offcuts, any wrong cuts, anything of this nature. And this is all configurable, right? So this is all part of the configurable element where we set up the actual workbench that I showed you earlier in the location. So I'm going to say, okay, we've got a bit of an offcut here. It's one offcut that we've got in terms of scrap that we've recorded. And at the same time, we're also going to record some scheduled maintenance because the machine has come in and the guy is going to fix something on it, or we can also do an unscheduled one as well, or an asset breakdown, or whatever you've got. And each one of these are tied to an actual cost category NetSuite, where you're capturing costs that are pertain to every one of these elements as well. So once you're done and you're finished, you basically say, whatever you produced one of these in this example, and you'd stop. We need to make sure we take the runtime around and we stop. And that there now we've produced one product, and then we can go back to the next one and jump to the next part of it, which is bent cut. And then you'd go through the bent cut element and you'd start it up, and you'd keep going through and through until you get to the final, the final operation where you'd complete the work order, you'd complete the actual assembly, and then the work order is completed from a packing perspective, and then it'll get picked on that particular sales order and send out the door to the customer based on the delivery details and the address on the sales order through the pick and pack ship function in NetSuite. So that's showing you from an operational standpoint on the shop floor as to how someone will utilize the tablet or utilize their mobile device to execute on the functions required. So, from a if I jump back into NetSuite and out of the tablet view, some of the reports that you get from NetSuite, let me just go into the home screen. Some of the reports that you get as part of the advanced manufacturing solution. So from a planning standpoint, you can plan and view what material shortages look like. So this is where any bill of materials that you may be missing across a particular operation. This is where you'd view that, some shortages. And then if you go into some other planning reports, you can look at your work order report. You can look at what materials have been issued. You can look at any production results that have occurred. You can look at the daily plan. So if you jump into the daily plan, you'll be able to see for every individual operation for a particular work center, including the assets, what the date created, the planned start and end dates are, coupled with what you're planning to make, what the planned setup times are, the total machine time in terms of a planning standpoint, and then what the actuals were as well. So you can see all that as part of the daily plan. You can change it from a report into a normal view, and then you'd be able to obviously jump into any one of these individual work orders as well, right? So I can go in and have a look for that particular operation for work order 287. I've just right-clicked and created a new tab. I can see I'm in the work order now. All right, so it's drill through capabilities is all there as part of the standard NetSuite native function. And then from a actual manufacturing report standpoint, you can look at your downtime, you can look at your production loss. If we look at what downtime has happened across the operations, you can just jump into the report. These are just your pre-configured reports. So you can see today, there's the one that we did today. Obviously, we weren't down. I think not even down for a minute, hence why it's showing 0. But you can see, what the actual downtime, including the categories are for that particular work order. If I go back, some of the other reports, you can look at your labor report. So you can see for every individual work order what the labor has been. So if we change it to show this month, we'd be able to see every actual, well, it doesn't seem to be anything this month, labor, because yeah. So anyway, this is where we'll show you all the actual labor results for any time that's been entered. And then any other reports that you can look at operation reports. So we look at the operating report view. We'll change it for this month again. In this case, you can see for the actual, this particular work order that we're in earlier, for the operation, you could see what the runtime was, production produced, the scrap. You can see it was a total 100% scrap because we scrapped the product we actually made, and then what any downtime hours were, and effectively the efficiency of the labor time as well. So that's pretty much, from a very high level standpoint, the NetSuite manufacturing solution. One last part I'll show you is from a quality perspective. So you can collect data from inspections. So this is where you're managing any inspections or any quality reports. So incoming is any purchase orders that are coming into the actual manufacturing area that you want to review. Otherwise, there's the in-process inspections, which are where you're actually managing any quality and inspections for a particular work order. So we type in work order 293, I think, and hit the list inspections. It will show the actual inspections for that actual work order. So you'd be able to see the operations, the work center, the product, what's been inspected. And this is where you'll go in and put your inspection results as well. So who was the inspector? It was me. I inspected and tested 1. The value of the inspection was 10, and so on and so forth, right? So these are all configurable parts of the actual solution, which can be configured to your requirements. And then once you've actually entered it and saved the results, it will then assign it to that particular work order. So yeah, so that's, and then you can therefore report on that as well, if need be. So to go back to the reporting side of it, we've walked through the downtime, labor reports, operating reports, and then the quality reports as well. So you can look at each and every inspection. You can look at ones that have, you look at results from an inspection profile standpoint, whether it's receiving inspections or doing final inspections of finished goods as well. So I suppose that kind of wraps up the full demo today. Hopefully you've got a bit out of what it is today. If you have any questions, please reach out to me or the team, and we'll be here to help. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.